Peace. Welcome to my 11-month and 3-day check-in with no nicotine. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a topic that I'm very passionate about, something that I am going to get ready to discuss here. But first of all, let me start off by introducing myself. I'm Morgan Ross Alexander, and I am a teacher of the spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental states of being, as well as teacher of life and learner of life, as well as a recovered user of nicotine for over 5.5, almost 6 years of use. And this video is going to be the 11-month and 3-day check-in with no nicotine. And if this is your first time watching my channel, so far all my videos on this channel have been documenting of my journey of quitting nicotine and what I have learned when it comes to the mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional states of being, as well as providing that information and so-called motivation for those who are either on the fence about quitting or needing information or anything surrounding the process of addiction, and or someone who is looking from an external point of view and wondering about what it's all about and if they should get into it or not, or someone who is just any listener who is out there wanting to learn and wanting to hear a perspective. So when I talk about how in this video we're going to talk about how smoking, vaping, ingesting nicotine in general, using nicotine, how does that affect your life? And when we talk about how it affects your life, we're going to talk about how it can affect your life in terms of the mental state of being. We're going to talk about how it can affect your life in terms of the physical state of being, as well as the spiritual and emotional states of being. And let me start off by saying that this is not just having to do with nicotine in general. You can apply this to any substance and or, let's say, a bad behavior that you have, or whatever it may be, and then apply that, what you learn, to that. So let's get started off with how using nicotine has an effect on the mental state of being. So it affects the mental state of being in a way where your mentality and your mind is going to be fixated on your nicotine use, and your mind and your mental state of being will then be dependent on your nicotine use. So you'll get something to where you are not able to function as well as you think that you can, because like we said, we're talking mentally, so it has to do with the thoughts, and you'll mentally think that you can't get by without this substance, or you can't do anything to get by mentally without this substance. And if you're relating to this, then trust me, I've been there before. I would go to work and I would need a device with me, a nicotine device with me, because that's just how mentally fixated on it. And I thought, I'm gonna be much better in my state of being, in my mental state of being, and more stable and more strong in that fashion and in that way, that in order to do that, I felt as if I needed, and I thought as if I needed, keyword thought as if I needed it to be successful, to be stable, to be the best of my ability. And so mentally, using nicotine, using any substance, whatever substance it may be, can have that effect of leaving you to be mentally dependent on something, and there you go, you are not absolutely in control of your mental state of being, in control of your mind at all times. And at this point that you accept into your mental state of being the exception of, in this case, vaping nicotine, which it has a way of helping you to mentally cope, even though it is not a long-lasting ease for anxiety, ease for for a pause of racing thoughts, or really relief of racing thoughts is much well better said. And it's about then seeing, hey, mentally, that's not justified. That doesn't justify my use, because then I'm putting all my other states of beings, and especially, your physical state of being, in a compromised area and in possibly negative outcomes. But when we talk about how it has an effect on the mental state of being, you being so mentally stimulated by this substance and by this addiction, let's just call it that. Really, it's just the use of a substance, and that is actually keeping you from seeing truly and correctly, being able to know that you can go without that substance, and that it's not true. Even before you use that substance, you mentally made the decision to do that, so you have the strength to go however many amounts of experiences, time, whatever you want to call it, before the addiction had set in. You were that way for that amount of time. So it's as simple as being able to understand that, I can easily get back to that mental space where I am growing rather than being in a stagnant energy, and rather than being so stuck mentally. And if you don't think that you can get by without it, then I'm telling you right now, you will be twice as impressed as how well you get by once you stop using it, and how well your life turns, and how well, especially mentally, you will get more mental clarification. And therefore, once you do make that decision, and once you do learn possibly how to go without, or maybe even moderation in some way of a healthy balance, you learn that, okay, mentally, I am going to be able to now apply my mental state of being apply my mental state of being to what now I want to apply it to what before I was more resistant towards, because I was so stuck and I was hanging on to a mental form that was really something that I thought that I wanted, but actually it was an outdated mental form that needed to be updated. And now that I know that, now I can see it for what it is, and I cannot go 5.5, 6 years using that substance, knowing that this can actually have an effect on me. And then also knowing during that times, how was I experiencing it? Yeah, mentally, there was a lot of times of not much stress, and that had to do with the nicotine and with the use of the nicotine. But then I think about it, and I think of if it was worth it or not, because I don't have that with me today. I don't have those thoughts with me today. I don't have those feelings with me today of, damn, I don't actually want this. I don't want to be using this for, long periods of time down my path in life. So I was able to understand and able to grasp that perspective once I went without. And that's just a way that the mental state of being can be affected by a use of a substance and or abuse of a substance, specifically nicotine, because it's so good at helping you mentally cope and helping you possibly mentally socialize and stuff like that. It's a highly popular social drug. It is going to be highly depended on by some people, and that is going to be a majority having to do with the mental state of being. And to be able to understand that it is not right for you is to know that when I was experiencing the mental bliss, the good times, the just wanting to stay comfortable, even then I knew that something had to be done, something had to be changed, and that I could not keep this activity, I could not keep this behavior going for an extended period of time. physically, how can smoking, vaping, ingesting nicotine, or ingesting a substance that is keeping you back, something that is really not right for you, but because we are where we are, we're in the world that we live in, the reality in the physical plane of existence, where we have these things at our disposal, we have certain things that we have access to. It's about choosing the right actions, and when you do submit to these actions, your health will have a outcome after your use and everything like that. And you have to ask yourself, is this worth it to do to my physical vessel? Is this the right way to treat my body? Am I really taking care of my body? Am I really going to physically abuse my body for the compensation of feeling spiritually at ease, spiritually right, spiritually fulfilled, mentally at peace, physically at peace, emotionally stable, emotionally calm? Am I willing to say that, okay, right now I want to ingest this, I want to put this into my body, even though it's not really helping me down the road? And like I just said, mentally, I don't have that with me now. Even I went through that experience, so now I can see it as it didn't really do anything for me, but in the moment you think it's doing something for you. So physically, if you are physically dependent on it and you think that, hey, I need my nicotine to get me going, I need this to help me go, I need my marijuana to help me go, I need my booze to help me go, I need my alcohol, I need my pain prescriptions, I need my Adderall, I need my prescription medications, I need this specific thing to get through what I need, when really all you need is you. And as long as you're taking care of yourself and you're taking heed in that area, then you should be able to be healthy. You should be able to physically exist in the physical state of being without many challenges that are coming out of nowhere. For example, if you do use the nicotine or whatnot, it's going to have an effect on your lungs. We already know that. The lungs are meant to breathe in air. It's not specifically air. You can do the science on your own of what you think is going to happen to your lungs after an extended amount of time. And I went through it. But I also experienced now, after 11 months and 3 days, of how good I can breathe, how resistant I can be towards that molecule, which is in my case nicotine. I've been around smoke. I've been breathing in air that had nicotine smoke in it, not just from cigarettes but from also vapes, and it had no effect on me. I did feel nothing at all, and that just goes to show how strong the physical state of being can be. And if I wasn't here to say that, then I want to be able to vouch that it's truth, and my path can be a testimony to that fact. So whether it be, like I said, whatever your go-to is or whatever the said action is, knowing that okay, just got something on the bottom here of the foot, but it's all good. We'll keep going. So physically, are those repercussions from these actions that we're talking about, are they worth it? You should think about your actions, and because the more that you do an action, the more you create a cycle that is more harder to break out of, because the more comfortable you come with it, and the more and more resistant you are to changing that cycle. So try to build that physical strength, not just in being so consistent on doing the same things that help you feel physically secure or physically comfortable, like possibly drug use, possibly things that you like to do, bad habits, possibly. Instead of just validating those, realize that you can actually live a much longer life, and you can actually be in a much healthier vessel, because like I said, there's always going to be things that each person goes through, because each person has specific health issues, specific health specific system in their body that runs differently. So each person's health is going to be different. Each way that a person's physical state of being reacts is based on that person's body, based on that person's vessel. So what's right for them may not be right for the next person standing next to them. As well as, if you do just validate these actions regardless, like I was saying, it's going to be more and more resistance towards changing that habit. And I can say this because the more I went on with my habit of, the first year of smoking nicotine, then it became 2 years, then it became 3, 4, 5, 5.5, almost 6 years of smoking until I finally made that decision to quit. So it just goes to show that the repetitive action is only going to make it more and more resistance along the path to change that behavior and to stay strong on that path. Because I'm telling you, if you're watching this video, whatever you're going through right now physically, you're going to make it through it, and that you're going to not only going to survive, but you're going to thrive and you're going to strive. And that's physically, that's what I want to talk about physically. And as when it comes to just being aware of how you physically are interacting with your reality, and what the thinking and pondering about what the actions and what the outcomes may be of those physical actions, even if it's just anything. Always know why you're really doing what you're doing, and don't be acting on blind faith. Don't be acting just out of impulse. Really be responsible for your actions, especially physically. Alright, moving on to spiritually. Now, like I've said on my channel in multiple videos, and if this is your first time clicking on my channel, thanks for being here, and thanks for all my returning viewers as well. Thanks for all the support. I appreciate it if you guys would, at this moment, like the video, subscribe please if you want more information and motivation on this and some other topics that I'll be getting into down the road. This is, so like I've said on my channel, that there's no direct correlation between being spiritual and exactly drug use, or being a druggie, or being addicted to a substance, because you can still be that even if you are that. There's still going to be a person that's out there that is on the streets possibly, but they still have a connection to the world, a connection to spirituality, to the spiritual realm, and to God, and a relationship that they have for themselves. So even people that are hooked on substances can have that spiritual sense of being. It's just that I can tell you from my personal experience that all that was doing, all that use of continuous validating, because it wasn't just the nicotine, it was all the actions that had to go along with it, like drinking, like smoking, like hanging out with people that weren't right for me, like doing actions that weren't productive, that weren't actually going to build the life that you wanted to create in the future. And that's what the nicotine, that's what the vaping for me had kind of wrapped itself into. And so it was more than just that. It was more than just some physical action. It was about a spiritual chapter in my life, and creating a new spiritual era, where once I did go without the nicotine, once I did quit that substance that I had been struggling with, and it changed, it put me on a spiritual path. And you guys are witnessing that spiritual path right now. Like I said, this is the journey. It's been 11 months and 3 days with no nicotine, and I continue on. We're going on for infinity. And not only that, but I was able to forge a spiritual path where I am spiritually fulfilling my purpose, and also the presence of an addiction, the presence of a use, especially when it comes to substances that are highly addictive, that are highly powerful substances, they can have hindrance on your spiritual perspective, on your awareness in general, and like I said, it can damage your body. That's only going to have an impact on shortening the amount of time that you get to experience and be here on this physical plane for your spirit, for your spiritual state of being to grow and to expand further on. So that's a little bit of how can using nicotine, vaping nicotine, ingesting nicotine, or ingesting any substance that's bad for us affect the spiritual state of being. And like I said, to all you out there on your path, trust that you are